This is part two of our interview with Destiny Garcia. Listen in as she describes her hiring at the county mayor's office in Salt Lake City, Utah, and the great work she's doing with Clean Slate, Utah.
No way am I going on the news and saying, I'm an addict. I don't have any teeth. I still have track marks everywhere. There's no way I'm doing this. And she kept asking me week after week, after week after week. And I finally said, well, let me talk to my family. And so I asked my mom and my son, I'm like, how would you guys feel? Because at this time, like, we have a really good relationship. I'm going to all the family functions. I'm doing everything that I need to do, taking the bus back and forth where I need to go. Like, our relationship is rebuilding. It's starting to rebuild.
And you're talking about the non-using part of your family, right? You're talking about your family that isn't abusing and isn't
Right.
living. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's really my mom, my son. It's really my mom and my son and my sister that I'm in most communication with. And I'm like, how would you guys feel if I go on the news and tell the world that I was a heroin addict, that I stole from every store I walked into, that this is what I was doing? And they're like, everybody we know already knows that about you. So we don't care. Everybody we know
not going to change anything.
And then my son said, Mom, I would be disappointed if you didn't take this opportunity and you didn't do this, because you can help so many people. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I invite my mom. My mom doesn't come because she has to work, but my son comes with my sister, and there's supposed to be this big press release at my house, right? And I wake up that morning and I'm like, I look out the window and there's like every news station. Their vans are all out there. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what did I get myself into? I didn't realize, I thought I would be doing like one interview with one news station, but it was every single news station in the county or in Utah, every single news station, even Telemundo. It was all the Salt Lake Tribune, the Deseret News, all the little newspapers, all the elected officials, the mayor, all the drug court people, like the case managers, the judge, like all these people. And I was like, holy hell. Like, what am I going to do? And here I am downstairs in my sober living trying to like, what am I going to do about my teeth? Like, I don't even have teeth. And so I have like this little plastic piece that I mold into my mouth to make it to cover the gaps of the front teeth. I was freaking out. So anyway, they go upstairs to do this press release. And at first, the Speaker of the House at that time was Greg Hughes. So he does his speech. And then the county mayor, Ben McAdams, does his speech. And then it's my turn. And I get up to this podium and I'm like, all I hear is click, 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 click. Like all these cameras going crazy. I was terrified.
Instantly famous.
Oh, I was terrified. And so, but I read the paper. Luckily I prepared. I read my speech. Talked about like how thankful I was to have the sober living, because it gave me a safe place to go with people that are doing the same things that I'm doing, instead of going back to my mom's or my dad's or the things that I knew. Right. After that press conference, the mayor of the county kept calling and being like, hey, how are you doing? Like, have you found a job yet? And I'm like, no, I can't get a job. Like, I keep going to get a job. I'm working with Workforce Services. They send me to get this job. They hire me. They run my background. They fire me before I even start. And this was a cycle. I couldn't get a job anywhere. I had like 15 retail theft charges.
Because, yeah, I was going to say, you didn't have any felonies, did you, at this point?
I didn't have any felonies.
So but it was
my misdemeanor retail theft charges. That was the biggest barrier for me. Nobody wanted to hire me at their business because they thought I was going to steal from them.
Yeah.
There was a girl in my sober living that worked at Build-A-Bear. And so she's like, they're a second chance employer. I'll get you a job. And so I get a job at Build-A-Bear. But at the same time that I'm getting out of treatment, my ex is getting out of prison. And I think, oh, I'm sober. So he's going to follow suit, right? He's going to get sober. We're going to be sober together. I go over to his house like once or twice. I think only 2 times I go over there. And, he's getting high, and I'm like, I can't be here. He goes back to prison. I find out 8 weeks later that I'm pregnant. So here I am, pregnant, 39 years old. Wait, I think I'm 38 years old, in sober living, barely sober, can't get a job. I finally get a job at this Build-A-Bear. They hire me at $8 an hour, 10 hours a week. So you can do the math. I was
Yeah,
taking the
that's a
bus. Yeah. I was taking
that
the
doesn't
bus
pay for the
from,
bus fare.
yeah, from sober living to my job, from there to treatment, from treatment back to sober living at night, and then I had no money left. The mayor of the county had reached out and asked me if I would speak to him, to the Trump administration that was coming into town, and they wanted to really do some research around Operation Rio Grande and the model, and maybe try to implement this model in other states. And so I spoke with the Trump administration with him, and after that meeting, he's like, "Have you found a job yet?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "I have an opening in my office as a front desk receptionist, and I would like you to come apply." I'm like, "Okay, I'll come apply for the job." And remind you, I had worked for years before this, before my addiction, so I wasn't a dummy. I knew how to work, right? And plus, I survived on the street. I knew how to communicate. I knew how to hustle. I knew how to manage my money. I knew how to do the things I needed to do. So I go and apply for the job, and they give me all these tests. And it was like, do you know how to open up a computer? Do you know how to send an email? Do you know how to use the Outlook program? Do you know how to use the Gmail program? Like all these things, like write us a statement, like, and it was really just seeing if I had the skills to run the front desk receptionist in the mayor's office. He offered me that position, and he
Were
started
you
me
able to
at,
do? Were you able to do all that stuff? Because
oh, I was,
obviously, in your life, you hadn't spent a lot of time in front of a computer.
well, so remember I told you that my son was born in 1999. I worked at Diamond Auto Glass until 2007. So I worked like all those years, and then I had like
But,
little jobs here and there
did you
when
get any computer use? I mean,
yeah,
did
I got
you?
some computer use. I worked at Discover Card for like 6 months, and before had to quit
Okay,
because of my injuries.
okay.
I worked at like
Your
security
experience in
finance for a
college.
few months. I went into college, so I
Yeah.
knew these
Okay.
things. It had
Okay.
been a lot of years since I implemented any of them. And in the back of my mind, I felt like I didn't know how to do it because I had been addicted and homeless for so long. I forgot about the good qualities and the skills that I have, right? Because I was just implementing them in a different way to survive on the street. He offered me that job, and he started me at the very highest that position started at $43,000 a year. And so, um, and I remember like the very first day of my employment, I didn't even show up. I was so scared. I was like, how am I going to go into the mayor's office and run a front desk? Like, I have no teeth. I have track marks everywhere. I had done so much work to work on myself on the inside. But when I got out of treatment, I still looked like an addict on the outside. Like I still look like an addict.
So
I was in
how
the
much did you
process
weigh?
at that point. I gained a little bit of weight, but not even a lot of weight.
So 100
Not even,
pounds, 110 pounds.
I think I probably gained like 60 pounds at that point.
Oh, so you
Now
were
I've
getting
gained a
healthy
whole lot
again,
more.
right?
But like I was,
But you were getting healthy then,
I was
if you
getting
put on
healthy. I
60
was
pounds.
6 months sober. I was barely 6 months sober. Um, but I was also still walking around everywhere because I didn't have a car. I was taking the bus and
Right.
walking to this and walking to that. It's when I got a car is when the weight really packed on and I wasn't walking everywhere anymore.
So
So I
the
got this.
governor, or excuse me, the mayor really took the mayor really kind of stuck his neck out.
Yeah, yeah.
He
And
saw
so
something in you. Obviously, that lady that came to your court and talked to you.
Noella Sudbury.
Yeah, she kind of went back, I'm sure, to the mayor and said, this lady, let's take a risk.
Yeah.
Let's take a gamble on this lady. Yeah.
Yeah, and what they were doing behind the scenes is that they had arrested so many people on Operation Rio Grande. So many people were in drug court, but nobody could get a job. So what I didn't know then that I know now is that the county mayor and Noella Sudbury are going out to all the employers within the county being like, can you commit to hiring one person in drug court? Hire two people at your business. Can you hire somebody in this program? Like they're clean, they're sober, they have accountability, they have to do all these responsibilities. These people have the skills that you need for your business, but they can't get a job because of their record. Like take a chance. And somebody asked the mayor, like, who have you hired? You're asking me to hire these people in drug court, but have you hired somebody in the drug court program? Sorry about my light. It goes off every so often.
That's
Um,
okay.
And so he's like, you're right. I need to hire somebody. And so he hired me as the front desk receptionist in the county mayor's office. So anytime anybody called the mayor's office, I was the one answering the phone. Anytime anybody walked in, I was the face that they saw. I was the face of the mayor's office. I ended up being there for 4.5 years. I ended up being there for 4.5 years. But when I took that job, I was so thankful to have a job with full benefits. That I learned everything that I can learn as quickly as I can. I never stood there bored. When I was done doing one job, I was asking the deputy mayors and the mayor and the office manager, what else can I be doing? The words that I didn't understand that they were using throughout the day, I was Googling to learn so that I could use them in a sentence the next day. Like I was the sponge. I was the sponge that was learning everything that I can throughout the county.
So you, for the first time really since you were 15 years old, your mind was clean.
Yeah.
You were applying some of the good things that you learned, work ethic and social skills, because I know it sounds odd, but people on the streets often have social skills. They don't use them right, but they know how to get along. They know how to work people. And you were starting to apply those things with a clear mind.
Yep.
What did
And
it
I
feel
was just
like?
I felt so good about myself. Like I felt I was in the process of getting new teeth. And just coincidentally, the Odyssey House program was right kitty corner from the mayor's office. So when I got out of work, I walked right across the street to treatment. It was so convenient. I don't know how it worked out so great for me in that aspect. Since he hired me at such a great wage, I was able to move out of sober living before I had my baby. I had the money to move out of sober living because I was making really good money, but I couldn't get an apartment by myself because my credit was so bad. My criminal record was so bad that my adult son, at this time, he's like, I will move in with you. I'll move in with you. I'll put my name on the apartment. You have been clean you've shown me that you're changing. And so I'm going to dive in and I'm going to help you. And so my son had to sign for the apartment. And I remember when I was applying for these apartments, I was putting the county mayor down as my reference to try to get into these apartments, right? And he knew I was putting him down. Nobody ever called him. They probably thought I was lying. They're probably like, no, you don't know the county mayor.
And they didn't want to call him. They didn't want to call him because they feel dumb.
Nobody ever called him, but I couldn't even get an apartment because of my criminal record, right? And so my son helped me. And when I moved out of sober living, I moved out with a trash bag full of clothes and nothing else. My son provided everything for the house. He bought all the furniture. He got me a bed. He provided everything that we needed. Got the dishes, got the pans, got the silverware, he provided everything we needed to be successful in that apartment. And so I'm in the mayor's office and I'm doing really good. And I have my new baby. And of course I'm not on any government assistance. So I can't get WIC. I can't get free diapers. I can't get formula. And it's time that I qualify for expungement. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my record cleared. And at this time in the county, they were running expungement day programs. And so I went to the expungement day program as a volunteer, but I was also working with Noella Sudbury. The same lady in court has now become my colleague in the mayor's office. And I'm volunteering with her to do these expungement days. And because I'm a drug court graduate, I'm able to get a free attorney, so I don't have any attorney fees. And what I learned really quickly was when you get your record expunged, the government fees alone are $215 per case.
How much?
$215 per case. It's $150.
And you had how many cases?
And I had 13 cases.
So you're looking at $3,000.
Yeah, $3,000. The county was running a navigator program, expungement navigator program, where they paid for $65 per case off for you to get your record expunged. So I'm looking at $2,600 roughly, right? And I'm like, when they tell you qualify and they give you your letter, you have 90 days to pay that, or you have to start the process all over again. And I sat there in the mayor's office and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, that's more than what my rent is. Granted, my son's living with me. He's paying his portion of the rent, but I'm rebuilding my life from homelessness. I have paid all my fines and fees and restitution. I have transitioned from public transit into getting my license back, paying those fees, getting a car. Um, on top of like barely making enough money that I can't get on any public assistance, having to buy my own WIC, my diapers, the food, like it all adds up. I had no savings because I'm literally rebuilding my life from homelessness. So I had a choice to make. It was either pay for my expungement or pay my rent. And so I chose my rent. I wasn't going to get my expungement because I couldn't afford it. And that's just the government fees. That's not, in order to qualify for expungement, somebody has to be off probation or parole, pay all their fines and fees, and remain crime free between 3 and 10 years, depending on the severity of the charge. But luckily, my colleagues in the mayor's office who have watched me show up each and every day, work my butt off, go to treatment, come back, they see everything that I'm doing. And my colleagues are like, no. They all got together, they did a fundraiser, they paid for my expungement for me.
Wow.
That is the only reason why I sit here record free, is because my colleagues in the county mayor's office paid for my expungement.
I was just going to ask you how those people accepted you.
I was worried about that when I walked in. But nobody ever treated me anything less than I treated myself. Like they really, they were my community, and they still are my community. I was just in the mayor's office yesterday getting snacks and treats because I wanted to stop by and say hi. They surrounded me, and they loved me, and they mentored me. And they watched how hard I worked, and they are still some of my best friends to this day. Like they treated me so well.
And I'm going to kind of stop and talk about that a little bit, because sometimes, and I refer to us as white picket fence people. I'm a white picket fence guy. I grew up in a perfect little home compared to my normal and your normal are opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. And it's awful easy for people from the white picket fence world, because I did this prior to my experience in prison and what I've done, to kind of say, why would you live like that? Why would you choose that? Why would you do that? Why would that be something you would even want to do? And we don't realize the story you just told. We don't realize that was normal, that you, and most importantly, that you kind of wanted to get out of that, but you had no idea how. Yeah. And we forget about that. And then we kind of want to hold it over people's heads. Well, you were this or you were that. And I think it's incredible. And it tells a lot that these people that were living more normal lives, white picket fence lives, were willing to let you into their world and accept you. And I think that happens. I think that can happen a lot more as we get to know Destiny Garcia, as we get to know who you are and see, you described your resilience and a lot of the qualities you picked up off the streets. And they're good. They're value. You have a lot of valuable tools that other people from the white picket fence life really have a hard time picking up or have to learn in a different way. Yeah. But I think it's really, it says a lot about the people in the mayor's office. And I think it speaks to all of us white picket fence people. As we let down our guard and we let you into the white picket fence world, we find out that you are just like us. Yeah. You have a good heart. You work hard. You care. You want to be productive. You want to stay away from the crap and live a good life. You want to take care of your family. All of those things are part of you. And they always were. It was just covered up with drugs and violence. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like a brand new destiny showed up. It's like the destiny that God made finally got all this crap peeled away. Yeah.
I was always determined. I was determined to get my next high. I was determined to survive on the street. I just turned that motivation that I had into a positive way. I'm productive. I turned it into succeeding instead of failing. And I remember, like, when I walked into the mayor's office, I was like, "Oh, I met you at the press conference." All the faces looked familiar because they were all there. Yeah, they were all there, but they treated me with love, and they still do. Like I go into the mayor's office, and I haven't worked there in almost 2 years. I go in there every week, When they see me on the news or they see what I'm doing up on the hill or they see something on Facebook, they're reaching out. I still have lunch with the deputy mayor that I used to be her executive assistant once or twice every 6 months. Like they love me and I love them. They are part of my family. They are who I go to with issues when I need to. Um, they're part of my community.
And they're not afraid of you.
No. And you know what I learned is like as I'm getting comfortable and I'm becoming friends, that almost everybody in the office has somebody in their family who struggles with drug addiction. And when they look at me, they see hope for them. And they'll open up and they'll tell me those stories. I've had elected officials, I've had mayors, I've had congressmen and women tell me their stories of their addicted loved ones because they feel like they can open up and share those stories with me. So they might be these white picket fence people, but they relate to me in that area. And when they look at me, they have hope for their own loved ones.
And I'm glad you brought that up because the white picket fence people have problems. They have
Yeah.
challenges too. And
Yeah.
and sometimes they don't have the tools. You kind of have the tools to deal with it. I think you live in it and you figure out ways to navigate it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't know how to deal with it. We're surprised, we're shocked, we're scared, we're afraid, and we don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
someone like you says, "Wait a minute, we can have hope. We can find a way. There is an out. There is a way to get out of this." So yeah, cool.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I think that I love the county, and it's because I'm really a product of what the county services offer. I was in a county funded drug treatment program. I was in a county funded treatment program. I then got the county sober living pilot program. I used the county health department to get the Vivitrol shot. And then the county hires me as an employee. Like I am a product of what the county services actually provides if somebody was to take advantage of everything that the county offers.
So before we go on, I want to ask you this. Obviously, once you got a chance, you were one of the first persons to take advantage of the Project Rio Grande program. Why do so many others not? Why do
I think
people?
Operation Rio Grande is so controversial. And I can see both sides. For me, it gave me the opportunity I needed to change my life. And I have a circle of friends and colleagues that went through Operation Rio Grande and feels the same way. But on the other hand, it really did criminalize homelessness. You can't arrest your way out of homelessness. It doesn't work. And this caused a lot of more charges for the homeless population. It ripped up our homes. Our homes that we slept in, that was our homes every day, was just thrown in the dumpster in a huge operation.
And why do you think that those people didn't take advantage like you did of some of the programs that it provided?
I think everybody is different. And I think for me, I was ready. Maybe they're
so
not
you'd
ready.
come to yourself. You'd
Yeah,
come to yourself.
I knew I was ready before the operation even hit. I would sit there and cry and knew I didn't want to do this. Like I already knew that I didn't want to do it anymore, but I didn't know how to not. I didn't know how to stop.
Do you think there's a way to help those other people come to the realization you did?
Yeah, I think
Is
since
there
Operation Rio Grande and so many people did get clean, and a lot of those people give back now to the community, and they're out there walking the streets and helping our unsheltered population, and I think that we have a good community in Salt Lake County that's active with our unsheltered population, and I think that it's just giving them those resources. And I think when they're ready, they'll come out. I can't say for anybody else. I just know for me, I was ready. And I think that if this operation would have happened a year before then, I wasn't ready. I don't think I would have been successful like I am today.
So timing's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me it was such a big deal. I think it all
So
worked out for me because my abuser was in prison. I was without him for a certain amount of time, able to make my own choice. When it got into treatment,
your son
and then
stepped in. Huge.
and then my community and my family and my
Yeah.
people all surrounded me, and then I felt safe and I felt like I could do it, you know?
Yeah. So let's get back to your story. So you work at the county mayor's office
Mm-hmm.
for about 4 years. which I
Yeah.
would guess is 2001.
So I got hired there in May of 2018, and I left there June of 2022. So about four and a
Then
half
what?
years.
Okay, why did you leave and where did you go?
So while I was working at the mayor's office, I am advocating for recovery, advocating for funding for more programs, advocating for Operation Rio Grande. I'm doing all these events. And while I'm doing these events, I walk away feeling so high and so happy and so empowered and so motivated that I knew that that's the field I wanted to be in, was something to do with recovery, something to do with advocacy. I didn't know what that was yet. My colleague Noella Sudbury,
Who keeps coming back
she,
in the picture?
oh yeah, she's still in the picture. She she found out that Pennsylvania had a clean slate law. Pennsylvania was the very first state in the nation to pass an automatic clearance law, the clean slate law, and she wanted to try to get that for Utah. She was pushed, so she leaves the mayor's office. She quits working at the mayor's office. She's running public policy and legislation to get Utah to have a clean slate law. In
So tell us more
2000,
about what that clean slate law is,
yeah.
because I
So in
think a lot of people don't know.
2019, Utah, it was the second state in the nation to pass a clean slate law. What that is that your record will, the state will automatically identify and clear low level misdemeanor records off of somebody's criminal history without the individual doing anything at all. It shifts the burden from the individual to the government. So these are like retail theft charges, criminal trespass charges, possession charges that are misdemeanors that will automatically be removed from somebody's record.
At what
So
point are they removed?
the implementation process started February 10th of 2022. So currently they have cleared about 150,000 of those records so far. They're still working on getting more cleared as time goes on. We do have a big implementation problem in Utah where the courts are expunging a high number of records. So the courts have expunged about 450,000 records under the clean slate law. But BCI, who takes it off of your criminal history, has expunged about 150 of those. So whether they need more FTEs or there needs to be some system improvements, whatever that is, there's still an implementation problem that we're currently trying to fix.
So does the person that's getting their slate clean, do they have to do anything? They have to change? Do they have to apply anything at all?
In order to qualify for the clean slate law, you have to qualify for the regular petition-based expungement. So you can't be on probation or parole. You can't have any open cases, and you had to have met that wait period time of 3 to 7 years, depending on the charge.
Because I think that's important that we don't skip that, because it's important that the person be transforming, changing, coming to themselves, getting rid of the crap, however you want to describe it, so that their true self can come out. So as soon as they start making those steps and start qualifying, just like you had to, but instead of having to drop $3,000 and go through a bunch of paperwork to do that, it can happen.
Yeah, all of my record, my entire record would have been clean slate eligible if that law was in effect when I did my expungement.
Right.
So these are not just people who got a crime last year and it's over. These are people who meet the criteria, have already changed their life. Expungement is in my opinion, expungement is the very last step to somebody's rehabilitation, because you have to go through all the court process. You have to pay all your fines and fees and restitution. You have to have all of your cases closed. And then after all of that, you have to remain crime-free for years before you actually qualify for expungement. And so this is the last step for somebody.
So what does it do for them? I think it's kind of obvious, but I would like you to tell us.
So having a criminal record is a barrier on housing. Just like I told you, I couldn't get an apartment. I couldn't get a job. People that are going to school for social work, they won't be able to get their DOPL license from the Department of Professional Licensing at the end if you have a criminal history. It's a barrier for so many things that, getting your record expunged, you're 63 more times more likely to get a job. Your income increases. My salary has doubled since my expungement. Granted, I was given rare opportunities, but I still had to meet the same criteria. Right. People can get stop working 2 and 3 jobs and have one really good paying job because of they had their records expunged. It's good for families. It changes generational poverty. It's good for public safety. Our communities are safer when people have lawful ways to support their family. And we should be able to provide those lawful ways for people to support their families. People just want to work and support their families. And people are going to feed their families no matter what they have to do.
Well, I think that's a great insight, and I think it's important that we all realize that everybody makes mistakes. Some people's mistakes are out in the public, and some are in private. Some are bigger, some are smaller. But as people evolve and change and grow and move past, allowing them freedom. I think it's a form of freedom. It's letting them be free of their past. Why is it valuable to put an anchor around someone's neck? Because they lived a period of their lives in turmoil.
Yeah.
Whether that's by choice or like you, it's by normal. It makes no sense to keep dragging people through the mire for something that they want to put behind them. So it's a great program. The first I'd heard of it was when we visited on the phone, and I want to explore it some more. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for, as you described, these people to escape the world they want to escape.
Yeah.
And live a life, more of a white picket fence life. Tell me again the numbers that we've done in Utah.
So in Utah, there are 1 in 4 people in Utah have a criminal record. That's over
how many?
1 in 4 people in Utah. Having a criminal record is more common than what people think. In Utah,
1 in 4.
1 in 4.
Wow.
50% of our children in Utah have at least one parent that has a criminal record. It's more common than what people think. There are over 800,000 people in Utah that have a criminal record.
800,000?
Yeah, 800,000 people in Utah have a criminal record.
Is this felonies and misdemeanors, or
this
just
is
misdemeanors?
Felonies and misdemeanors, yeah. So
everything. Okay.
So Clean Slate Utah was formed to raise awareness around the Clean Slate law. So what we do at the nonprofit is that we'll help people determine if they're eligible for that law and let them know what charges of theirs are eligible. But oftentimes they also have a felony charge or other misdemeanors that don't fit in the Clean Slate bucket. And so we help them go through the court-based process, and then we also help people get pardons from the Board of Pardons.
So even if they have a misdemeanor that doesn't qualify, they could still get that expunged if they've completed the
if they meet the criteria.
Required.
Yep.
Yeah, meet the criteria.
Felonies as well.
Not all felonies, but probably nonviolent felonies.
What
kind of felonies?
Not everything is expungible. So like first-degree felony, sex crimes, crimes against children are never expungible. Right. However, and if you have too many charges, let's say you have like 20 misdemeanors, you're not going to qualify for expungement. You have to go through the pardon process. And that's just like a bunch of paperwork that the Board of Pardons wants to see, like your court dockets, your police reports, letters of recommendation from this community and for other people to testify that you have changed your life and you're somebody new and you're doing great things. And then they will hold like an interview process. They'll call you in and they'll ask you about your charges. They'll ask you what you've done to change your life. And then at the end of that, they'll decide whether you are worthy enough for a pardon or not.
But that's the long road. That's not the automatic expungement under certain
That's
criteria.
Not the automatic expungement, no. So there's like really 3 different avenues. The automatic expungement, it does automatically your low-level misdemeanor record. Those will get it done automatically. If you have other charges, let's say domestic violence, drug possession with intent to distribute, anything else misdemeanor-wise, you would have to go through the petition-based expungement. And certain felonies can be expunged. And then if you have too many charges or the severity of the charge, you have to go in front of the Board of Pardons. So different avenues for different people.
And you support all of those things in Clean Slate Utah.
We support all of those, yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to do much for the first group, but the second and third group, tell us what you do.
So our goal here at Clean Slate Utah is we help people self-navigate the process so you don't have to hire an attorney. The expungement paperwork is really simple. However, the government and the court language makes it look extremely complicated. So what we do is that we will help you fill out your application for expungement, and then we'll call you in and we'll sit down with you and we'll show you how to do the paperwork yourself. We'll show you how to file it yourself or email it out to the courts. That way you don't have to hire an attorney. Same thing with the pardon paperwork. We will give you your court dockets for free. We will show you how to fill out a grammar request form and help you do all your police reports. We will give you an example of what the recommendation letter should look like. We'll show you how to write your recommendation letter. We'll help you build the packet, and then we'll help you get it turned into the Board of Pardons. So we really just want to empower people to do it themselves. We don't have any lawyers on staff, and we are not lawyers at all. We help you self-navigate the process yourself. And we're really successful. Last year, we have helped over 600 records be cleared. And so this year, I'm hoping to double that. Now that we're really up and running, Clean Slate Utah is really new. We're about 2 years.
I was going to say awareness is a big thing because I've been in the criminal justice space for 15 years, and I've never heard until I visited with you on the phone a couple of weeks ago. I've never been aware of or heard of Clean Slate Utah. So hopefully, as people listen to this program, if they have loved ones who fit these categories, they can reach out to you. Tell me how many offices do you have, or where's your office, or what does that look like?
So we're a really small nonprofit. We have 4 employees, with myself included. I am the only one that has an office. The legal defender's office has donated me a free office inside their building. And so I have a free office space here, and then the rest of my employees work from home. So we are a small team of 4 people, and the need is out there. There's hundreds of thousands of people that have a criminal record. So what we do is somebody would go to our website, cleanslateutah.org. They would fill out our intake form. At that point, an intake coordinator will reach out to them either via the phone or Zoom and schedule a meeting. We'll look up your record together. We'll tell you which one of your records is Clean Slate eligible, which ones may need to go through the petition-based process, and which ones may need a pardon. At that point, we have a partnership with USERRA. It's a community recovery center, a recovery community center in Salt Lake City and in St. George, where we are there every single Thursday. We'd occupy their space for people to walk in all day long on Thursday, be fingerprinted, come in and do their paperwork with us, let us sit down with you and help you once a week there. We also do fingerprinting ourselves. So we don't send you to a police station. We don't send you to BCI. We don't send you anywhere uncomfortable for you. We have an agreement with the Department of Public Safety where we can do the fingerprints ourselves, and then we take them the applications.
And they're electronic fingerprints, right? They don't have to come in physically.
They're just with the ink pad. You just come in and
so they do have to come in physically and
they do have to come in physically and get a fingerprint. So, but let's say that you live in a different state or you live in a different county and we're not in your county. You can always go to a police station or find a fingerprinting place, get fingerprinted, and mail us your information. A lot of my job is fundraising. I fundraise a lot to help people pay for those government fees that are not affordable. The government fees are not affordable for these people that are low income that need to remove the barrier. So we fundraise to try to help with that. We're working on legislation right now to try to remove the barrier of the government fees. And then advocacy work. Like we do a lot of advocacy work. We go into a lot of treatment centers. We meet with AP&P. We go into CJS. We're everywhere as much as we can be with 3 or 4 people. Just getting the word about Clean Slate and what we offer.
So thanks to the internet, you're pretty much accessible to anybody anywhere that has a computer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
if you don't have a computer, we can do it all over the phone.
Yeah. You can help them do that.
Yep.
Your services are free. Your services are to help people restart their lives with a clean slate.
Yep. Because everybody deserves that.
Yeah, well, they do. As I worked in the prisons, I saw guys change. I saw guys peel away the layers, and their true selves came out. And I don't want to get into, it's kind of changing topics a little. I don't want to get in the way of debt to society. I don't want to make those decisions about how long a guy should serve.
Yeah.
I think that's the courts, and that's what the courts are for, and that's what laws are for. But once a man has served his minimum sentence, I guess, if you will, and he has come to himself, and he's peeled away the ugly and the muck and the layers that he's covered himself with. Once he does that, it makes absolutely no sense to keep him in prison.
Mhm.
You know, it
Agreed.
really doesn't. Again, they got to do whatever time the courts say. I don't want to get in that discussion. That's not my place. I'm
Yeah.
not an attorney. I'm not a judge. But whatever the minute, if a guy has to do at least 7.5 years, then he needs to do at least 7.5 years. But once he comes to himself and realizes that that's not who I am. This is who I am. I'm the good person God created, and I want to live that life. Then the opportunities and the situations need to be put in place where he can make those evolutions and make those changes, and as quickly as they happen, come out of prison. Because a lot of times what happens is these guys come to themselves and they realize that this sucks and I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But then they got to stay in prison, and they're in the cesspool that is General Pop and the politic that is General Pop,
Yeah.
and they have to live that life. It's a unique, ugly life. They have to live it to survive, and we don't give them those opportunities. And that's what Clean Slate's doing is giving people who are changing the opportunity to let go of the past.
Yeah. You know what
So-
the most common thing we hear at Clean Slate is? I had no idea I can get this off my record. Most
Yeah.
people who have been in prison or cycled in and out of jail, they just assume that they can't ever get it off their record. And that is so wrong.
Yeah.
It is so wrong. They can. Most of the time they can. But they just
Well-
people just don't know that they can. There's not an organization like ours that goes out there and educates people and lets people know about this stuff until we started. And I think that's why we're so busy. The need is out there.
And hopefully you're busier and busier and busier.
Yeah.
Because the need is. There's you
need is
mentioned
out
how
there.
many 800,000 people.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I love the
that's-
work we do. People come in and we get to hear about the worst days of their lives, but then we get to hear about the change that they've made and who they are today, you know, and we get both sides of that. And if I'm going to be running this organization, everybody on my staff is going to be directly impacted, because if my mission is to help people access opportunities, I'm going to provide those opportunities. So everybody on my staff has gone through the expungement process or has had some type of criminal record and
lived
had it
experience.
expunged. Yep. It's so important.
Yep. Lived experience is a huge
Yep.
part of rehabilitation and of putting yourself straight.
Absolutely.
Yes. This is incredible. Our podcast goes to, we have a pretty good audience. We're still pretty new. We've only done 35, 36 podcasts to this point, but we're growing.
Mhm.
And hopefully the people who listen to our podcast have someone who can use your service and comes to you and gets it.
Yeah. Or them themselves.
Or
Having
them
a criminal
themselves, you
record is
bet.
so common.
Yes, we actually have opportunities to broadcast inside some of the guys in prison hear our broadcast, and so that could be something they could use too. Well,
Yeah.
Destiny, this has been a great experience. I knew it would be when we visited on the phone. I could tell the wonderful person that you are, that you've
Thank you.
let out of your shell, let out of your fronts, let out of your addiction, and that God made you. The work you're doing is so important.
Thank you.
And it's not, we talk about how good it is for these people that you're serving. It is good, but it's just as good, if not better, for society.
Yeah, it's good for our economy.
It's good for finances and economy. It's good for social aspects. It allows you. I mean, you go into the mayor's office and you become friends with the white picket fence people of the mayor's office,
Mhm.
and they realize how good a person you are, and they realize the things that you can offer, and you realize who they are. Because I would guess you kind of had a grudge against them to start with. I mean,
Well, I
I
never
don't know,
liked the
but
government before.
yeah. So-
but who does
so-
when they're running and gunning? We run from the government, you know?
The cops are the bad people. The government are the bad people.
Yeah.
And so all of these things, all of these doors open up, and these perspectives change.
Mhm.
What a great work you're doing!
Thank
I'm
you.
so excited you could sit down. You were willing to sit down and tell us your story. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Before we go, though, I want to ask you, Obviously, your normal was what it was, but if you
Mhm.
could give some advice to somebody who's going through this dysfunctional normal that you went through, if you could get them some advice on what they might could do to get out, to break out, to find help, to get answers,
Yeah.
to what would it be?
I would tell somebody who was in the same situation as me, if you wake up and go to sleep scared every single day, that is not normal. If you are being physically abused, that is not normal. And I think that you need to confide in somebody and let them know what's going on and make a plan. I mean, having a safety plan is the most important thing. But life is so good. Life can be so good. You just have to work towards it. You have to escape and work towards it, you know?
Get
I don't
yourself
know.
free.
I I just hope everybody can escape their abusers.
Yeah. Well, you have, and God bless you. What a wonderful
Thank
story
you.
you tell. What a sad story, but a wonderful story. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for being on. We wish you all the best. You guys, you can find Destiny's services at cleanslateyutah.org, and we reach out and she's going to help you. So
Yep.
thanks so much, Destiny.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Have a good day.
I want to thank you so much for listening and supporting the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating, a review, or a like, as it helps our show grow. Thank you so much.